Chapter 1. Born into Hardship. My name is Maya, and I was born into a world where hope was as scarce as food. My family lived in a small, remote village surrounded by dry, barren lands. Poverty had wrapped its cruel hands around us long before I was born. My earliest memories are filled with hunger, the constant gnawing in my stomach, and the struggle to survive day after day. My father was a fisherman, but the river near our village had dried up over the years, leaving him with little to catch and sell. My mother tried to help by working odd jobs in the village, doing laundry or cooking for others, but it was never enough. We were 4 children, and I was the second oldest. Like many families in our village, we struggled to make ends meet, always wondering where our next meal would come from. Our house was a tiny shack made of mud and straw, with cracks in the walls that let in the cold wind at night. The roof leaked when it rained, and we had to place pots and pans around the house to catch the water. Despite the hardships, my parents loved us deeply. They did everything they could to provide for us, even if it meant going without food themselves so we could eat. Chapter 2. A Chance to Learn. In our village, education wasn't seen as a priority for girls. Most of the girls stayed home to help their mothers with housework, while boys went to school, if their families could afford it. I always felt a sense of longing as I watched the boys head off to school each morning, books in hand, while I stayed behind to help my mother with the chores. But deep down, I had a burning desire to learn. I knew that education was the key to escaping the poverty that held us back. I wanted to read, to write, to understand the world beyond our small village. I just didn't know how to make that dream a reality. One day, when I was about 8 years old, something changed. A group of volunteers came to our village from the nearby town, offering free education for girls. They set up a small school under a large tree, and for the first time, girls were allowed to attend classes. My heart soared with hope. Could this be my chance? I begged my parents to let me go to school. At first, they hesitated. My mother needed me at home, and my father wasn't sure it was worth the effort. But I wouldn't take no for an answer. I promised them that I would wake up early to help with the chores and still attend school. Eventually, they agreed. That first day of school was one of the happiest days of my life. I sat under the tree with other girls from the village, holding a piece of chalk in my hand, feeling like I had finally taken a step toward a brighter future. It was just the beginning, but it was a start. Chapter 3. Struggles and Sacrifice. Attending school wasn't easy. Every morning, I woke up before dawn to fetch water from the well, sweep the house, and help my mother prepare breakfast for my siblings. After that, I would rush to the tree where our school was held. Some days, I was so tired from the early morning chores that it was hard to concentrate in class, but I didn't care. I was learning. My teacher, Miss Anika, was a kind woman who believed in the power of education. She encouraged us to dream big, even though we lived in a world that seemed determined to keep us small. She taught us not just how to read and write, but about the world beyond our village. Through her lessons, I began to see that there was more to life than the struggles I had always known. At home, things were still difficult. My father's health was deteriorating, and my mother was often too exhausted to work. We had many nights where we went to bed hungry, but I never let it discourage me. I knew that if I could just keep learning, I would one day be able to help my family rise above our circumstances. As I got older, the expectations of my family grew heavier. My younger siblings needed more care, and my mother was relying on me more than ever. There were days when I considered quitting school to help at home, but every time I thought about it, I remembered the words of Miss Anika. Education is your way out of this life, Maya. Don't give up. Chapter 4. A Hard Decision. When I was 14, my life took a difficult turn. My father passed away, leaving my mother and me to fend for the family. The loss of my father was devastating, not just emotionally, but financially. My mother struggled to provide for us, and the weight of responsibility fell heavily on my shoulders. The villagers began to talk. They said that I should leave school and start working full-time to support my family. After all, I was a girl, and in their eyes, my future lay in marriage, not education. But I didn't want that life. I had seen too many women in the village marry young and spend their lives in the same cycle of poverty and hardship. My mother, though heartbroken, stood by me. She believed in me and knew that my education was the only way to break the cycle for our family. She told me that she would do whatever it took to keep me in school, even if it meant making sacrifices. Her support gave me the strength to keep going, even when it seemed like the odds were against me. I started working part-time, doing laundry and cleaning for wealthier families in the village, to help my mother with expenses. It wasn't easy balancing school and work, but I was determined to finish my education. Chapter 5: A New Opportunity. One day, a representative from an educational charity visited our village. They were offering scholarships for girls who showed promise in their studies but couldn't afford to continue their education. Miss Anika encouraged me to apply, and with her help, I wrote an application letter explaining my life, my struggles, and my dreams. Weeks went by and I heard nothing. I tried not to get my hopes up, but deep down, I was praying for a miracle. Then, one afternoon, a letter arrived. I had been awarded the scholarship. I couldn't believe it. This was my chance, my real chance to make something of my life. The scholarship covered my school fees, provided me with books and supplies, and even helped with transportation to a proper school in the town. The transition to the town school was overwhelming. It was much bigger and more advanced than the village school. I felt out of place at first, with my old clothes and simple background, but I reminded myself why I was there. I was there to learn, to break free from the chains of poverty that had held my family for generations. Chapter 6: The Power of Determination. The more I studied, the more my confidence grew. I excelled in my classes, especially in mathematics and science. My teachers took notice, and I began to dream of a future I had never imagined before, of becoming an engineer. I wanted to build things, to create, and to solve problems that could make the world a better place for people like my family. But the road was still hard. My mother's health was failing, and I had to juggle schoolwork with taking care of her and my siblings. There were many sleepless nights, but I refused to give up. I knew that my education was the key to a better future for all of us. After graduating from secondary school, I was accepted into a university on a full scholarship. It felt like I had finally made it, but I knew the journey wasn't over yet. University was challenging, and being one of the few girls from a rural background made me feel like an outsider. But I pressed on, knowing that I was not just doing this for myself, I was doing it for my family, for my village, and for every girl who had ever been told that she couldn't dream big. Chapter 7: Building a New Life. Today, I am an engineer. I work in a city far from the village where I was born, but I carry my roots with me every day. My mother still lives in our old village, but now I can support her and my siblings in ways I never thought possible. I have built a house for her, with a strong roof that doesn't leak when it rains. But more than that, I have started a small initiative to help other girls from poor villages get an education. I visit schools and villages, just like the volunteers who once came to mine, and I tell my story. I tell them that no matter how poor they are, no matter how hard their life may be, education can change everything. My name is Maya, and I was born into poverty, but I refuse to let it define my future. My journey was not easy, but it was worth every struggle, every sacrifice. I want other girls to know that their dreams are valid, and that with determination, they can break free from the chains that hold them back. This is my story, but it is also the story of hope, resilience, and the power of education to transform lives. The end. Subscribe for more videos. Your support helps me create more content. Thanks for watching.